Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic week. In today's video we're doing another reacting to my subscribers bird cages video. I think this is number 7 now, and when I put out a call for people to send in their cage submissions I received quite a lot. So for now cage submissions are closed because I have enough for the next video, which I'll film in a couple of weeks time. But thank you to everyone who sent in their photos, I really appreciate it, and seeing your lovely birds as well. And the aim of this series is not to criticise people, it's to see what you're doing really well, see for ways to improve, and of course for all of us to see ways that we can improve our own cages as well, because there's always something to improve, always something to do better. So it's really exciting to see all of your setups. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The first submission has come in from Ellis, who has Louis and Kipling, the two beautiful conures. And wow, I've been talking to Ellis for a while and I know about all of this kind of setup and everything, and this is a huge aviary for them and it's amazing. It was custom built, which is really cool because then you can kind of customize it, as it were, to your bird's individual needs. But this is really awesome. I love the platform perches. There's loads of natural perches, there's ladders and swings, and there's a substrate base, and you know, on this channel we love a substrate base, and I know that this is easy chick as well, which is fantastic to see. We have got loads of wonderful toys. I believe we've got metal bowls in there, I'm pretty sure we do. I think this is a really great setup, like an aviary setup for conures, because there's so much to do. So if I had to offer anything constructive, which is very hard to do because it's such a great setup, I would just say that you could add some floor toys, which I'm pretty sure you do anyway. But for anyone wondering and looking at this and thinking, well, what could we do here? Some floor toys would be awesome. But this is a really brilliant setup for conures. It looks like so much fun. There's loads of opportunities for enrichment and fun and exercise as well, which is so important. So you did a really awesome job, and I know that Louis and Kipling are very happy in here. So the next setup is for a cockatiel, 2 cockatiels, I'm not 100% sure, I think there might be 2 in here. So this is another DIY kind of cage setup, and what I like about this is there's quite a lot of space, both at the bottom and the top, so you can really utilise that space with enrichment. There are some toys in here, there is just a lot of opportunity to change things around. I think the thing at the top isn't a dowel, I'm pretty sure it's like a natural perch because there's like different textures and widths and things like that. And your cockatiels are very beautiful in there as well. I really like that shredded paper toy at the top too, I think that's really cool. Now, just a pointer for anyone who's looking to make their own aviary, just be very careful about the materials you use. If you do use things like wood, just remember that parrots like to chew wood, is what they do, so you could end up having your parrot chew their way out, so just bear that in mind. And also for the mesh itself, you need to be very careful what mesh you choose, because a lot of metals are toxic to birds. Even chicken wire is often toxic because of the way it's produced, and obviously chickens don't really cling onto the bars or chew the bars or anything, so it's not really an issue for them, whereas with parrots who do manoeuvre using the bars could be a problem. So just bear that in mind if you're looking to make your own aviary setup. And what I think in here could be really useful is just really filling out the space. There's loads of opportunities in space, so let's use it. So adding in some more natural perches would be really great for their foot health. Some extra shreddable toys. We love balsa, palm leaf, yucca, paper and cardboard here on the channel for birds like cockatiels. But if you wanted to, you could also do some DIY toys. Again, I've got a couple of videos, so does David, all on DIY toys that you can do with things around the house. But yeah, all I would say is really fill out this space. There's a lot of opportunities for fun here. If possible, you could also do a substrate base depending on what you have access to. But yeah, just fill out that space and make it really enriching. See what works for your birds, see what doesn't. If you need to change things around, that's cool as well. But thank you for sending in your cage setup. So the next setups are for a white-winged parakeet and a parrot. So there's 2 different cages here. So I'll start with the cage on the left-hand side, the sort of bigger one. That's a very nice size cage. It's very cool. There's lots of opportunities for enrichment here too. You've got like a seagrass kind of mat, swing, slide thing. It's really cool. It's really big. There are some natural looking toys here with what looks like kind of palm leaf material, something like that. I think there's some cork bark in there, which is really cool to see. Stainless steel bowls, we love to see it. And lots of different things going on. Then there's a really cool sort of training stand or perch in the middle there. I really like that. I think that's really good for sorting out your training and having kind of a dedicated area for it. And then on the right hand side you've also got this other cage. So in here you've got some loofah toy, which I really like. Our birds really like chewing on loofah. It's got an interesting texture. You've got some other bits and pieces. You've got like a cotton rope in there, a buoying, and some natural perches, which are really cool to see. Some pointers here. With cotton rope, I say this in every video to anyone who has it, so it's not something personal to you, but just be very careful when you're using cotton rope. For some birds it's totally fine, it's not an issue. For other birds they will chew it, which causes a risk of crop impaction. There's also a risk of cotton rope as well because of the way that the fibres are woven. They can sometimes get their nails or toes caught in there and get a bit stuck, so I like to go for things like sisal or sisal, whatever you call it, or hemp rope, coconut rope. It depends what you have access to, but just bear that in mind. Each bird's an individual, so some things will work for some birds, some things won't work as well. I think there are some bells in here, and we like to steer clear of bells as well because they often promote hormonal behaviour or aggressive behaviour. But also if you have coloured bells, sometimes they are coated with toxic materials as well, so we don't recommend those. There are some safe bells you can get. I'll leave links down in the description if you want to go and see what I mean by safe bell. And that's where the clapper is all the way up inside the bell, so birds can't get access to it. Because again, if they can, there's a risk that they might swallow the clapper, and of course that wouldn't be very good. The other thing I've noticed in these cages is the kind of towels and blankets down the back. I'm not going to go into covering on this video because I've talked about it in other videos. But if your birds are in there during the day and they have these kind of covers down the back, it could be a little bit intimidating for them, or it could be potentially promoting hormonal behaviour. So when your birds are in there during the day, I'd recommend removing the covers completely, just so they can see all sides of the cage. And also because obviously covers are made out of fabric, it's the same kind of thing with the cotton rope, because there's a risk of crop impaction, that kind of thing, if they decide to chew it. But again, every bird's an individual. But I think these cages have got a lot of opportunity for enrichment. I think just fill it out. I say this to a lot of people. I think people are afraid of kind of using like the whole space, but do fill it out. Switch up toys regularly, keep it really interesting for them, and then they'll be very happy. But what I really like is that training perch right in the middle in between the two cages. I think that's very cool. It's something I'd quite like to have, like a little tabletop thing as well, so that's awesome. So thank you so much for sending in the cages. The next submission is from Elsa. Hi Elsa, and she has Winnie, the Amazon parrot. This is a pretty decent sized cage for an Amazon. There's lots of opportunities again for enrichment, which we love to see. There are some, what I believe are Zumax toys, so they're like the corrugated cardboard with the slats of wood and the paper string. We love them. We've got some for our birds as well. There's loads of those kind of toys in there, which is really cool to see. You've got some natural perches, which I love, really great for foot health. And there's also like a little calcium kind of chew in there, which is really cool. I can see one of my birds' favourite toys, which is the discs and knots toy. I think that's what it's called, from Northern Parrots. They love that. It's got like leather strips and little thin bits of hardwood. There's just a lot going on in here, which is really cool to see. In terms of some pointers on how you can tweak things, I would try and fill up more of the space at the bottom. Again, I think people don't always use like the full length of the cage. Everything kind of gets put up in the top sort of half of the cage, sometimes the top third, but you can maneuver the perches so that Winnie can go all the way down to the bottom. You could consider a substrate base as well, which may encourage her to go down there too, but you can just tweak the way that you have the perches in there so she can go down to the bottom. If she's afraid of going to the bottom, you can use target training, but using as much of that space as possible is going to be really great for her, because then she can get even more exercise and more fun. I'd also potentially space out some of these toys at the top. Again, I can only see from one photo, so if it's just the angle, then I do apologise. But you could just move the toys around a little bit so they're not too clustered, because that could potentially lead to some hormonal behaviour. But there's so much fun in here. I'm sure she's a very, very happy little Amazon there. But yeah, it's a really cool space. I think just try and use a bit more of that space at the bottom would be really beneficial for her. And thank you so much for sending in your photo. The next submission is from Melfina, I hope I've said that right, with Loki the Cockatiel. So this is Loki's setup. It's a pretty decent sized cage for spending some of the day in, but I would probably say if Loki spends a lot of the time in the cage, I'd maybe upgrade to something a bit wider, just for even more opportunities for enrichment. I really like the play top. There's like wicker balls and a little ladder, some other fun toys to play with, and it's really cool when you can utilise the top of the cage. We've got a sort of seagrass swing in there, which is really awesome, and some metal bowls too. As I said, metal bowls, or stainless steel bowls should I say, are ones that we prefer because they're so much easier to keep clean, and sometimes plastic can really harbour bacteria. I can see a kind of like Planet Pleasure style toy there, made out of palm leaf, which we love. We absolutely love to offer palm leaf to our cockatiels because they really enjoy chewing that because it's nice and soft. There's also a shell perch in there. I've spoken about this in a few of my videos. My birds absolutely love the shell perch. It's made up of calcium and iodine, so it's really good if they want to chew it. You've also got a seagrass mat on the back wall. I think that's very cool as well. We love seagrass mats. So in terms of a couple of suggestions, again, we like to just mention the cotton rope for anyone who has it, because it's just to be on the safe side. If Loki's fine with the cotton rope, that's cool, but you could also potentially get some safer materials like the sisal to replace them with, but they are on the outside of the cage, so I think it's less likely for Loki to chew on them. But again, we like to just give all the info out there so you've got a full kind of idea of what you can do. You can maybe add or switch out the toys regularly if you don't already, to encourage, you know, playing with different toys. I also just saw there's a platform perch in there, which I love to see. We love platform perches. But the other suggestion is purely based on your lifestyle. If Loki has to be in the cage a lot, I'd recommend maybe upgrading him to a little bit more space. But if Loki is able to be out and about quite a lot, then it's not so bad, and it's a fine kind of little evening and sleeper cage. So those are my suggestions. Thank you so much for sending in your submission. Loki is very, very beautiful. The next submission is from Siobhan, who has Fidget the pineapple conure. Now, before I get into the cage setup, we need to give Siobhan a little shout out here, because she has a business called Bittersweet Delights, who I buy from as much as I can do so, with my bank balance allowing me to. And she creates amazing brownies and chocolates and cookies and shortbreads and amazing stuff. So if you're in the UK, I'm going to leave her Instagram down below, to Bittersweet Delights. Go and follow her. It's very tempting to go and treat yourself to some goodies. She's really, really lovely, and I highly recommend going and supporting small businesses like Bittersweet Delights. But anyway, let's get straight back into birdie stuff. So this is Mr. Fidget's humongous cage. It's very cool to see such a big space. I love the Danger Velociraptor containment in there, because he is a little feisty little bean. I know he is. He has got a very cool kind of net in there that he can climb on. He's got great big perches in there, lots of different sizes as well for foot health, because that's really important to have different thicknesses, different materials as well to keep their feet nice and healthy. He's got loads of different toys to play with of different materials, which is so important, because some conures will really enjoy hardwood, some will only enjoy softwood, some like a bit of both. The big box in the top right, I think he said it was his bath, but he likes to sing to it, so if that's what he enjoys, then cool. Some birds may get a little bit kind of hormonal with those sorts of things, but I don't believe Fidget does. He's also got metal bowls, which we absolutely love, and also he can go down to the floor, because there's some toys down there to play with too. Now, the one suggestion I have for this cage is, because it is such a big cage, I think they're marketed as like big bird kind of cages, is the bar spacing can sometimes be quite large, and for some birds that won't be a problem. For other birds, they will really try and squeeze themselves through and get into a bit of problems. So if you are looking to get a really big cage for your bird, who is a small bird, you need to be very careful with the bar spacing. You can put mesh all the way around to make the bar spacing smaller if you want to utilise that space, but it's a bit fiddly, so it depends what you're okay with doing. As I said, some birds will be fine with this kind of bar spacing, some won't, but you need to just be really careful with your own bird. And you could potentially use my fave, the old Easy Chick on the base there, but again, it totally depends what you have access to. But we love a substrate base. But I really, really like Fidget's setup, and I know you switch it around all the time, and I know that he is a very, very happy little conure. So you're doing an awesome job, so thank you for sending in your photo. So for the next submissions, they're both from somebody called Sky. Hi Sky. And they've sent in 2 different cages. So we're going to start with the first one, which are for cockatiels and budgies. So there are quite a few birds. Sometimes cockatiels and budgies don't always get along in the same space. So budgies do typically bully cockatiels, but some will get along. So you just need to be mindful about your kind of social setup. It is a very tall cage, and that could be fine for your birds, but obviously just be very mindful of the social kind of aspect of your birds, and you know how many birds your cage can actually accommodate. You've got stainless steel bowls, which we love. I'd maybe add a couple more if there aren't already, just because there are quite a few birds in there. I think there are 3 or 4 bowls, but you could just add some more just to make sure that there's no kind of possessiveness with them. I really like the play top. I see the birds are really enjoying it on there, so that's cool to see. There's natural perches in there, which we love. Lots of different fun toys in there. I think there's a cuttlefish as well, so this is really cool. And of course, you've got a substrate base, so brownie points for that. In terms of some suggestions, just be mindful of those toys with kind of rope bits on, in case they are cotton rope. I can't tell if they're sisal or cotton, but just in case anyone else is watching and you have cotton rope toys, just be really careful of those. Also the kind of wire ladders and the little kind of wire platform, some birds can kind of get sore feet on those, or they can struggle with them. If your birds cope with them fine, that's all good, but again, I like to give all the info. And then maybe just as a suggestion to kind of mix things up, add a few more perches, take a few out, change things around. We like to change our cages up as regularly as we can. We always change the toys out every day just to keep things really interesting, especially when you've got quite a few birds. It might be quite enriching to change the toys and the space around so they can experience new things each day. But yeah, that's probably my only recommendation. It just depends on how long they spend in the cage altogether. But obviously you know your birds best and how well they get on. And then we're moving on to Sky's Canaries, and this is actually the last cage because I didn't realise, I thought I had a few more, but this is the last one. So this is for canaries, again substrate base, which is really cool. It's always good to see all kinds of birds having a substrate base, not just parrots. There's like a little platform on the outside, we've got stainless steel bowls, there is a plastic bowl at the bottom, and there does look like quite a lot of seed in there. So if you need any kind of tips and tricks and things for a canary diet, do reach out to me, I'd love to speak to you, because they can have a nice varied diet just like our parrots. You've got lots of lovely natural perches in there. You've got a little cotton rope for canaries to bounce on it. It's really soft on their feet. You've got a little ladder in there as well. As a suggestion, I would maybe add some preening toys. I find that birds like canaries like kind of preening toys. You can get palm leaf ones where they can just preen the little ends of the thin strands, things like that. Just add a few of those in. And just as kind of a pointer, some birds will get hormonal with these kind of solid top kind of cages like the one here, but again, you know your birds best. It's just something to be aware of. They can be a bit dark in there, which kind of creates like a nesty environment, but again, it's going to be fine for some birds. Just wanted to point that out for you. But thank you so much for sending in your photos. So that brings me to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the wonderful cage setups. If you have any questions about your own cage setup, or if you want to chat about anything bird related, do let me know down in the comments, as I would love to speak to you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you later.